Hello, 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 everybody.
Hello, what's up? What's up?
Patrick, Muppet, Dragon Lair, Kenny, here for a little while. Catfish, Terry, Lori, Roxanne, Pussywee, me. A Dragon Lair says I need to check out the beautiful guppies and water lilies. Wait, you need to check out beautiful guppies and water lilies on the Facebook page. Whose Facebook page? Huh. Oh, here we go. Stephen was between his workplace. He's been all over the world, and his wife, who is a psychologist, and brother, who is a paranormal investigating team. He's got a few weird stories. Great. You're going to come up and talk about them, right? That's right. That's the the Facebook page. What's the Facebook page? What am I missing here? Colored guppies. All right. Let's see. I think I'm down to the bottom of the chat. That's the name of the thing I get it now, I think. All right. We're going to turn down our intro music. I'm going to get somebody to design us an intro to that. I love that. Hopefully we won't get copyrighted on it. But anyway, so you guys, tonight we are going to be talking about weird and unusual, unexplainable stories that have happened to us or our family, surrounding us. Not stories that you have heard, like outside of per family, because I don't want it, to be like ghost stories that you would like really tell around the fire or anything like that. I want it to be real, unexplainable stories that have happened to you. I don't know anybody that nothing like that has never happened to. And I don't know how to get that off of the screen now, other than putting another one up there. How about that?
Hello. I was telling everybody hello
okay.
And I was muted. Oh, man. I'm sorry, everybody. I did tell everybody hello, but I don't think they'll heard it.
No, we didn't.
No, I'm so sorry.
Go for it.
Hello, everybody. There you go. Sorry if you didn't hear me say your name, but I did say your name.
Hey, Ramsey Country and GRB. Well, that right there sounds pretty eerie there. Whatever that was.
I don't know.
Lee, you made it. A quackist. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, you guys. How much longer are you going to be back on behind scenes, Chubbs?
About 2 minutes. Maybe not even that.
Okay. Well, then I'll tell one of mine. So this one actually isn't one. It's one of mine, but it's my mom and my stepdad. So one day, they used to like taking their horses and going out in the country. And this is before that people could actually put up the no trespassing signs and that be the law. And they would take their horses, load up in the horse trailer and just go out, out in the country, and then they'd pull over somewhere and then they'd just go ride. Well, apparently they stopped, they packed their lunch and everything, so they stopped at this old church. And this church had, when they arrived, it had like the old style windows where the shutters, all you had was the shutters that shut the windows. And they had that. Well, they took off down the road and went riding all through the country and everything, came back, tied their horses up, loosened the cinches, and got their sandwiches out and was eating lunch. Well, after lunch, Mama wanted to go into the church and check it out. And so carefully, because it was kind of all old and beaten down and rugged, they walked in, and the pews were still there. Of course, they were all dirty and everything like that. The shutters were still open and everything like that. Well, she said it was really, really cool and everything. The way, just really old. Everything just looked really rustic. And that's, of course, what my mom's into. But when they walked out back to the trailer and they were through riding and everything, so they started loading up their horses. Well, when they shut the gates to the back of the horse trailer, they turned around and kind of, gave an after look. Chubb's left. He'll be back. Anyway, they turned around just to kind of, give a last overlook of the scene and everything like that. Well, they noticed that the shutters on the church were all shut. Like, not just wind blown shut, like shut and the hinges locked. So Mama was like, do you think somebody came and locked everything up while we were eating lunch or something? And, my stepdad said, no, I haven't seen anybody. And so they went back to the door, and the door was also locked. So something shut the windows, or not the windows, but the shutters, and put the hinges over, and the front door locked, and nobody had been there. There were no footprints, nothing, because everything had dust on it, So, yeah, that makes the hair on my neck stand up. Just, something was there, but what was there,
I know the
Man.
feeling.
Well, when you come up, we'll let you tell yours. But what is Lee saying here?
Okay.
Not talking to any of you. I was live, and y'all inserted me for rubbish. Oh my gosh, Lee! No! Thank goodness other people have time to talk crap. Saves my butt from the stuff. It's a wonder you keep yourself out of trouble, Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, hearing it from their mouth, of course it's way more eerie, but it's definitely just one of those unexplainable things that is like, there's things out there, y'all.
I know.
All right, go for it, Chubbs. Which one you gonna tell?
Let's see who's talking about, what they talking about in chat here. We're trying to see what they all saying.
I think Lee was just talking about how everybody deserted him to come here or to go to Priscilla.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and turn this down or off.
Hello, everybody.
Too bright. There we go.
Yeah, okay. Well, the one story I told you earlier.
Yeah, that one is great. It really is. It's awesome.
Yeah. I was probably like 9 or 10, and it was like the day before Halloween, and I was with a babysitter who used to live across the street from me, and we was driving off somewhere, and it was on a old Jean Lafitte highway. Well, Jean Lafitte's named after the old pirate.
Yeah.
The swamp area that he used to be in.
Yeah.
Cheers, everybody.
uh
And on an old dark piece of road they got back there, they got a turn they call Dead Man's Turn. Dead Man's Turn, which probably every town has one. But so anyway, I was sitting in the back seat of a little S10 Suburban or something like that, and then I'm sitting in the middle seat, and I was looking at out the windshield, and I noticed on the clock it struck midnight. But when it struck midnight, all of a sudden, a corpse swinging on a rope swung out over the road on a tree, a big oak tree, and we hit it. The truck flipped. Then I went out the window, and I got crushed by the car. The next second, I was back in the car. And it was 12:01, and I started freaking out, and they stopped and everything, and it was the craziest thing. I can't explain it in my life. I don't know how to explain it. Like, shit went really bad, and then it just bam, I was
Boom.
back, and I can't explain it, but it definitely gives me chills.
Yeah, that
And
that would definitely give you chills.
but
I
then
mean,
after that, years later, I was talking to one of the little park rangers. It was talking about back in the pirate days, they would hang people from that particular tree that hung over a bayou, and it was right the tree that hangs on Dead Man's Curve. And knowing that they actually did hang people in that tree back in the pirate days, that is really eerie.
that's
Like
that's smart though.
crazy.
Ooh, that's something now.
Yeah.
That's scary. Well, I posted a link out there, you guys. So if anybody has a story and would like to come up and share, we would love to have you come up and share your story. Um,
Yeah.
so that I can just imagine that happening. Those images.
It's vivid.
But the vivid
It's
part,
like actually action. Like
and then
I literally felt myself being thrown out the car and being crushed by it. And then as soon as it crushed me, I was back in the car looking back exactly where I was. And it is it's the freakiest thing that's ever happened to me.
that is insane. That is insane. Yeah. Well, I don't think I can top that one.
That was
that's a pretty good one. Let's see. What other? I got like two more, but now I can't remember what it was. Okay, I'll tell this one. It's of course my stepdad again as well, but okay, so my stepdad is a cowboy. Like that's what he did for a living. And people would come in or call him and want him to go either pen their cows, or they would hire him to watch their cows all through the winter, take care of the cows. We're talking big acreage, thousands of acres. Well, one day he was out riding his horse, checking the cattle, and he noticed that there were a few cattle off in the woods, which sometimes in the summertime they'll go to the shade under the trees for the summertime, but usually in the winter, unless it is snowing or raining really hard, they're not going to be out in the woods. They're going to be in the sun trying to get warm. Well, some of these cows were in the woods, and he thought, hey, that's weird. What is going on? So of course he rides over into the woods, and ahead of him, and I can't tell you how many feet, but it was a good distance, he's seen a man on a horse. And so, he's thinking, okay, who is this? And Miles, hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, he was showing off his shirt. His Cabbage Terry shirt.
Oh, yeah. That's nice.
Good deal. Good deal.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Okay, so going on with the story. Yeah, that's right. So
Yeah, it looks good.
he noticed these
Yeah,
cows
catfish,
were
it
off
looks good.
in the woods. So he
Mm-hmm.
rode over there and he seen this cowboy on a horse off in the distance and was thinking, hey, there's not supposed to be anybody else on this land who's trespassing. So he starts, walking towards them and hollering at them, saying, hey, what's
My
going on?
phone's messed up, man.
Uh-oh. And the guy didn't answer back. And so he picked up. He picked up into a
It's not
trot
that easy.
heading towards that man. And he was still hollering at him, hey, stop, And the guy didn't stop. So at this point, he busts off into a lope and, a run at this guy. Well, there was a little bend, like a 90-degree bend in the fence where it kind of went into
That's crazy. Yeah,
another area. And when he went around that corner, he was gone. Like, poof, gone. And my stepdad said that the guy was dressed in Confederate clothing, like a Confederate uniform. He said it was freaky, but as real as can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that and that bothers me because I used to go out and ride a lot by myself, and I never seen anything like that out there. But not to say they weren't. I just hope they were friendly.
Right.
But that one apparently was checking the cattle. So, but yeah.
My phone sucks.
Do what?
Not much, man. My phone sucks.
Why?
I have a creepy story. Well, I have like a ghost story.
Okay.
I was in West Palm Beach area in Florida. I was like maybe like 10. I was real young, right? And I was sleeping, and I had this like weird dream, and I felt this like something grabbed my foot when I woke up, and I kind of saw like this like weird shadow, and like then I woke up and I was like, "Yo, mom," or my stepdad, like, "Yo, did you touch my foot? Did you like come in and like try to mess with me?" It's like, no. It was like one of those like Twilight Zone things.
Oh, yeah. I know the feeling.
Yeah, look at this. Let's see. That's
And one day we were like playing video games in like the room.
that one.
And then we're like in the living room playing video games. And all of a sudden in the kitchen, like a plastic bowl just fell down and hit the ground, and it was just sitting there, like it was sitting there perfectly, like it could never fall. There wasn't like nothing was leaning on it to make it fall. It just,
right.
it just
Well, I know the feeling.
Wow.
I had sage and holy water really close by. When anything falls without it being touched, I go throughout the whole house.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister's real big on that sage now. If she feels anything negative going on, she's going around the house with the sage. I can't stand the smell of it. It gives me a headache. But I'll make.
When the computer was messing up, it sounded kind of crazy for a second. Now I almost got it. There it is.
Oh, when I came in, it was like, oh,
I know.
Wow.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I don't ever want to see something like just go right across the room. That would just, I think I'd get up and leave the house. That's not something I can handle.
Yeah, it's not good.
No. I've seen my grandmother, well, I've seen both of my grandmothers. I was probably 16 years old, and we lived in a single wide, old 80s, 79, 80s style, single wide mobile home. And
my
Mhm.
my phone sucks. I just came up with a
Oh,
story.
geez,
I'll show
yeah.
you guys the shirt.
Okay.
If you want to come up and share the story,
Heck yeah.
be glad to have you up.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
um, we lived in that house or that mobile home or that trailer because that's what it was. It was a trailer. Um, and
Oh, Muppet, Muppet. Before I go,
Yep.
but
Muppet won the prize.
that was good. It was a good one. So we had a big storm coming in that night, and my or there I didn't. It was back before like I cared about the weather and cared about storms and stuff like that. Well, at about 3 o'clock that morning, a tornado came through. And it was taken. I don't know if y'all know, but with mobile homes, they have straps, like metal straps that are about like 4 or 5 inches wide, maybe a little bit wider, that they strap down to the ground with these things that twist into the ground to hold the trailer, attached to the ground. Well, our trailer was rocking like this, and I was in bed. Well, it rocked me out of bed. And when I got up, I'm in that zone of kind of waking up and what the heck is going on. Well, I looked at my doorway because I didn't sleep with my door shut. It was open, and then that was the hallway. Well, when I looked in the door, I seen my grandmother, that my first grandmother that passed away. I seen her, and she was in like this flowy white dress, like it looked like the wind was blowing the dress. And then, it was a very brief, I seen it, and then I looked away like, really? And then I looked back and it was gone. But I
Yeah.
swear to God, that was her. And she was there checking on me, making sure that I was
I
okay.
believe it.
Yep.
Yeah,
And that was my very first weird thing. Come on up, Lee.
yeah, one of my a lot of stuff happened when I was younger, and since then I've been real particular about keeping spirits away. So I've been pretty good at it.
Yeah.
But
I haven't
first,
ever
first
had.
sign, I know exactly what to do, and I know how to get rid of them.
Good or bad? Does the sage work for the bad too?
Yeah,
Good. Good. I know
yeah,
that's what I said. My sister uses it for anything negative. Even if her kids are like in a bad mood, she's going through the house with the sage.
yeah.
And then she's got like those rock salt things, and
Uh,
I don't know. I don't go that far, but yeah, it's kind of weird. And
1 second, I'll show you.
okay, there are people who go into shock when dealing or seeing things they can't explain. Yeah, not to mention people who have had heart attacks. Yeah, I can. I don't know. It's weird. I have a lot of deja vu, I guess. Um, I wish I could channel it, man. I could make some money off that, but I can't do it. I can't do it. But yeah, that's that. I don't think I ever will go into a place and like the ghost hunters things and stuff. I can't do that. But I can. I like to watch them and stuff like that. But I can't deal with mean spirits. Yeah, there you go. That's it. It almost looks like a mummy.
Yep,
Yep.
that's
Derek,
it.
I posted the link if anybody wants to come up.
It's here.
There you go, the holy water, man.
Yep.
Are you Catholic by any chance?
Yeah, I am.
You are? I used to be Catholic. My family is Catholic.
Yeah.
But
Well, my family was Italian, so you ain't got much of a choice.
exactly, and my husband's family is.
Well, my dad was actually a Baptist because, but I was raised Catholic.
Yeah. Dead
Uh,
Fred, man. What's going
what's up,
on?
Fred? How you doing, buddy?
Man, we can't see you. You're a ghost. What you
What's that?
got?
44 mag?
Hey, Derek, come on up, man. Dead Fred. What you got? You got a story to tell us. Can he hear me? Maybe
I should
not.
be able to hear it, but I don't know what's up with his picture.
I don't know. Oh, maybe he'll come back.
Yeah, I might have a bad connection. But yeah, this holy water I got from my grandmother, and she made a trip to Italy, and this came from the Vatican.
Yeah. Oh,
So if I
wow.
feel an evil spirit, this is the one I grab.
No kidding.
Yeah, this one's the real deal. This
Wow.
was blessed by the Pope himself.
Yeah. I've got some dirt that my family brought back. Of course, the dirt was even blessed, but um, yeah, yeah. I've got a priest in my family. One of my cousins is a priest. So, oh, and I meant to tell you while you were telling your story, Jean Lafitte, I was, or the pirate Lafitte. Not
Yeah,
was he? Okay, he is somehow he's related to my husband's grandmother.
really.
So yeah, so my son has got Jean Lafitte's blood running through his veins.
Well, same blood that runs through my veins, because that was my great grandfather's. Well, I don't know if it's the same veins, but my
Right.
great grandfather, well, or way back then, was in the French Navy with them and came to New Orleans with him.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yep. I mean, there ain't no telling how many kids came from him.
yeah,
You know?
but no, my great grandfather wasn't him, but sailed with him. Went
Yeah,
to piracy with him and settled
cool.
in the lower Mississippi.
Yeah.
What's up,
It's
Dad?
here.
Fred? How you doing?
Good evening, Chubbs. Good evening, Jess. How are you folks doing tonight?
Good, good evening. We're
Good,
good. How are
good.
you?
I'm well. Oh, thank you. Now, I was under the impression that there would be no Blair Witch type stories, but as soon as I came in, I heard some spooky stories. So
Yeah? Well,
I'm
tell us the spooky story. I just don't like the Blair Witch because I think that shit's real and that scares the mess
well,
out of me because that's an evil spirit.
well now,
Yeah,
hold on. Let me tell you because I live in Maryland.
Uh
I'm a
huh.
native New Yorker, but I live in Maryland. And the year that I came down here, they were shooting the Blair Witch Project right here in the
nice.
Patapsco State Forest, and it takes place in Burkittsville, Maryland, which is down near the D.C. area. They
Mm-hmm.
went through a lot of trouble, and I mean a lot of trouble, like the trouble that those old wrestling organizations used to go through to make their kayfabe stories seem real. They went through a lot of trouble down in
Mm-hmm.
Burkittsville, Maryland, to make things real. Now, if you ever got the Blair Witch DVD, they
Uh huh.
talk about they talk about some things like the Burkittsville Seven, like that was real. Like they talk about some real things that happened, but the whole quote unquote haunting of the forest around the Blair Witch Woods, like none of that was actually real. That was all fiction.
So, what's the
Right.
Burkittsville 7?
I think they were like seven kids who got murdered by an individual, and supposedly the energy from their spirits was supposed to be haunting an area. But
Oh.
that part of the story was not true. But there was a Burkittsville Seven. There were seven kids that got murdered. Um, kind of, uh, kind of like, kind of like the whole Freddy Krueger story. He was a pedophile, killing
Mm-hmm.
kids and stuff like that. They had a real person down here in Maryland, that was killing kids, and it was seven kids that went missing in one summer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Nice.
so I can assure you that the Blair Witch herself is not based on anything real.
Whew. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better.
But now
Now I can. Go ahead.
when I say I got a couple of stories, I'm gonna start with the one that's not spooky at all. It's just
Okay.
um it just kind of makes you scratch your head and tilt your head to the side. Uh,
Right.
this goes back to the this goes back to 99 or 2000. I'm not sure which year it was. I know it was before 9/11 though.
Mm-hmm.
It was the
Mhm.
summertime. I was down here in Baltimore, and I was young and dumb. I was out there chilling, drinking, smoking, doing all this young dumb stuff.
Mhm.
And one of the places that me and a friend of mine found real peaceful and real comfortable for us to go and smoke our weed in was the cemetery.
Uh-huh.
And okay, again, this is not a spooky story, it's still, but it's a strange story. So we go down to the cemetery, and we roll up and we start smoking, and we look up in the sky and we happen to notice a light in the sky that looked odd.
Uh-huh.
This was not, and again, we may have been smoking, but we both saw the same thing. We both
Yeah,
saw
right,
the same thing. Okay, uh,
Okay.
right,
the light in the sky looked strange. It almost looked uh, triangular shaped, and its movements were fast. I mean, insanely fast. And as you know, as we noticed how fast this thing is moving, it stopped. And after it stopped, like it made like a
crazy,
hard left and just started bearing left. And then it started
right?
going back towards where it came from and shot off in the distance and like disappeared. And then all of a sudden we hear,
Yeah,
so
and
whatever.
this was before drones.
This was before drones.
Yeah,
This was at least 1 year, maybe 2 years before 9/11.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Um,
right.
so now, my grandfather used to work for Grumman's. I know the sound of a sonic boom when I hear it. As far as I
Yeah.
was concerned, I thought that I heard a sonic boom.
Mhm.
Um, so that tells me whatever this thing was that we saw in the sky was moving so fast that it was traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was a
right,
huge delay between us seeing it in the sky and us actually hearing it make its boom.
right.
And I mean,
Wow.
it wasn't
So
just it wasn't just a boom, it was a long exaggerated boom. It was
like multiple,
right, and then you
multiple
could
times
actually
the speed.
right. Well, see, yeah, see, that's the thing with the sonic booms. They go pop, 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 pop. This was just one long boom.
Constant. Yeah,
So
that's pretty
yeah,
crazy.
and we try to explain the story to people, but the first thing that they go to, so y'all smoking weed in the cemetery, y'all sure y'all ain't see something else, like
No, y'all
Mm,
seen it. Y'all seen
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
we but we definitely saw it. Now,
Whew. That's a good one.
this particular story right here is the reason that I could never say that I could never say that I'm an atheist. I may not belong to any major religions out there. I may not necessarily be a faithful believer, but I do believe that um, kind of like how Jesus said, "I'm the same yesterday, today, tomorrow, and forever." Krishna said
Mm-hmm.
the same thing. Mithra
Right
said the
on.
same thing. Dionysus said the same thing. A couple of different gods said the same thing, and that's
Right.
Mhm.
religion. Science says that the energy cannot be created or destroyed; it simply changes form. So, in my humble opinion, they're both saying the same thing. And even though
Yeah,
science and religion are supposed to be conflicting, I believe that the truth lies between the two, and that they're purposely pitted against each other so that we don't know the truth. So
right.
now, with that being said, up until the age of 5, my mother was taking care of my great grandmother's sister. My great grandmother and her sister both had houses right next door to each other in Long Island. And my great grandmother's sister, Aunt Bess, she was old school. She had the TV in the living room. There weren't TVs in the bedrooms. Well, she did have one TV in her bedroom, and every now and then, when it would get late at night, I used to sneak off into her room, and I would watch. I'd watch like Benny Hinn and Johnny Carson, and stuff that 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds probably shouldn't be watching. It was late at night.
Yeah.
Right
First of
on.
all, and then Benny Hinn was just completely inappropriate. But one night, um, my mother and I, we were both in the same room. We were in a bunk
Yeah,
bed. I
Alex.
was on the
Welcome,
top.
brother.
My mother was down on the bottom bunk, and there's a light in my room. In the middle of the night. So I'm thinking, Aunt Bess has her TV on, but when I wake up, I see somebody standing at my door. Now I couldn't tell you if this was a man or a woman, but I could tell you that the light was coming from their clothes because the clothes that they were wearing was so damn white that
Mm-hmm.
it lit up my room.
Uh-huh.
And this person who was standing at the door walked down towards Aunt Bess's room. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay. So I get up out my bunk bed, I climb down, I come out into the hallway, and I see the person just walking into the room. And I walk into the room, and if I could paint a picture, when you first walk into Aunt Bess's room, to the right is the wall where the television was, and to the left was her bed. So you had to like walk like 10, maybe 15 feet from the door to the left to get to her bed. But the wall where
Mm-hmm.
the TV was right there as soon as you walked in on the right hand side. And right next to the TV was a chair. Now, this person stood next to Aunt Bess's bed, and I sat in the chair next to the television.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what I said to this person. I do know that I was talking because my mother heard me. And my mother woke up and she thought that the TV was on because she could see the light from her room. And when she got to the room, the light was gone. And that's according to her. As far as I was concerned, I could still see the person standing there. And she's like, "What
Oh,
are you doing in here?" And I'm like, "I was talking to them because I'm talking to the person and I'm talking to Aunt Bess." And my mother goes over and says, "Oh my goodness." And she goes over to Aunt Bess, who apparently was at the time suffering from a stroke. And long story short, Aunt Bess went to the hospital that
yeah.
night. She never came home.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
I,
Oh, shit.
I'm not validating heaven or hell, but I do believe that energy never dies.
Yeah,
Um, that
Right.
that there is something beyond this physical form of ours, and
Oh, yeah.
like other dimensions.
for a God to say to people that I'm the same yesterday, today, tomorrow, and forever, and for science
Mm-hmm.
to say that um, energy cannot be created or destroyed; it simply changes form. Um, I believe that it is entirely possible that what I witnessed was some form that I was not familiar with, and because I was young and not tainted by the world, I was able to witness it. Because I do believe that the older we get and the more desensitized that we get, and according to the things that we eat and the things that we do, we kind of close ourselves off in many
Yeah.
ways from what is, for the lack of a better term, part of nature.
Right.
Right.
That's what
Um,
I keep saying. That I mean, I get deja vu all the time, and I'm like,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
I wish I could tap into
Oh, yeah.
that.
well, they say that there is a second brain system in your gut. The brain that's in your head controls your bodily functions, but the brain that's in your gut is connected to your spirit. And that's why you get that funny feeling in your stomach before you have to give an address to a large crowd of people.
Or a
That's why
mother's
Mm-hmm.
intuition.
that's why you get that funny feeling in your gut before something bad is about to happen. That's why people say trust your gut.
Yep.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but
Huh.
considering that first story, my second story takes us to 2015. And I'm going to make a long story short when I tell you that I was in a relationship with an individual who we had both planned to create life. And during that process of life being created, she decided that she no longer wanted to be a mother. And I was not for this. I was against this. And that might sound ironic. That might sound strange because it's usually the other way around. But after seeing combat, after seeing friends killed in New York, I had been through a lot of trauma, but that is the source of my PTSD.
Yeah.
Wow.
I literally I was a changed person after that experience.
Yeah.
I was no longer the same individual because a big huge part of me was gone, and I'm not saying that that child was gone and that was the part of me. I mean, a big part of my spirit, my essence of who I am was gone, and I
Yeah.
suffered for quite some time. And I cannot tell you exactly what day it was, but I could tell you when my healing started to begin, and that was when I laid down on on this couch here at my grandfather's house, and it was literally the moment that I laid
Good
down
game.
that I opened up my eyes, and I opened up my eyes, and I was in a hospital, and I was in some type of like waiting area in the hospital, laying on the seats the same way I had laid down on the sofa. And standing right in front of me was my son. And he was the most beautiful little boy that I had ever seen. And he must have
Oh.
been 4 or 5 years old, thick, curly hair, beautiful brown eyes. And he smiled at me. And I knew exactly who he was because I felt like I had known
Oh.
him 1,000 years, and he
Mm.
ran off. And when he ran off, I got up and I ran off after him. I ran, he ran through the lobby and out the door, and I came out the door. And when I got out the door, he was gone, and all of a sudden it started raining.
Mm.
Here's what's peculiar about this experience, because as it started raining, I could feel the rain as it was hitting me on my skin, on my face, on my arms. And I'm like, okay, where did he go? Where did he go? So I run back into the hospital, and I go back to where I was laying down, and I tell my wife, I said, he was here. And I'm crying. I got tears coming down my eyes. She's like, who was here? I'm like, Yeshua. Yeshua was here. Like, I seen him. And, and I'm like, it's only been 3 years. And she's like, no, it's been 14 years. And I'm like, no, it's been 3 years. She's like, no, it's been 14 years. And then I think to myself, wait a minute, if he was here,
Who was
I
that?
only have a limited amount of time to say goodbye. And when I turned to run to a room, I don't know who I was supposed to be saying goodbye to, but when I turned to run to a room to say goodbye, that's when I woke up on the sofa.
Like,
Wow.
And that was when my healing began. I can't say that I was out the woods, especially not at that point, because that was like it took me a while to actually process what had happened. As far as I was concerned, I just saw my son, and nobody could tell me that that wasn't him, because like I felt like, again, I felt like I've known him for thousands of years.
Right.
I knew who he was when I looked at him. He was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen.
Of course.
So that goes back to what I was saying before about energy never dies. It can't be created or destroyed. It simply changes form. And a big part of the healing for me, because of the lesson that I learned back when I was 5 years old, was the same lesson that I learned when I was 37 years old. And that is that energy never dies. It cannot be created or destroyed. The same way my Aunt Bess is somewhere, someplace out there, maybe here, she may be next to me, she may be around me, but she's not
mm-hmm.
gone, and neither is my son.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
that was yeah, that was an experience, to say the least.
Yeah. Definitely. That is an experience for sure.
Yes, it is.
My
Well, thanks for sharing, brother.
yeah. I mean,
Thank you for listening.
I don't think
Yeah,
I
no
could. I
problem.
can't top any of those. I mean, I just have
Mhm.
deja vu all the time, and then I've seen my grandmothers, but well, I can tell that one. Let's see, the the last grandmother that I had that passed away. Me and my mom. It was my mom's mom, and me and her were going up to the hospital and spending the night. And then my aunt was spending the days up there with her. Well, it had come, it was early morning, and my aunt had gotten there to take over, and me and my mom were going home to shower, and kind of get a nap because, you don't sleep well at the hospitals and stuff like that, especially if you're the ones visiting or. So we went home, and I wasn't going to sit down and take a nap, but I did. And when I did, I slept for about 2 hours. And right before I woke up, I seen my grandmother's face. I mean, with the biggest grin on her face I'd ever seen in my life. And just waving, the big grin and just waving. And then because of that, it woke me up. And then, I woke up in a state of panic, like, oh my gosh, I got to call my mom. I got to call the hospital. I got to make sure, she's okay.
Right.
She had passed, and as she was passing or moving on to the next dimension or whatever, she was telling me, hey, she's good now. She is in no pain, and she is happy.
Right.
And, yep.
Yeah.
So,
Stephen Navalid had said something good. For the what is the energy? Is it magic? But I I
this
don't know what
one,
it is. Yeah, that's the one.
okay.
Yeah,
So if you're referring to if you are referring to that energy as magic, correct? You're using that term. I've been all over the world and have heard many, many different theories, beliefs, and stories. So just asking, it's what?
Okay. In my humble opinion, I believe that the
There's
term
Alex.
I believe the term magic has gotten a bad rap. Magic, as we know it today, is prestidigitation. And prestidigitation is quite literally fooling you. It's my way of saying,
Mm-hmm.
hey, if I slide my hand this way, yeah, and you look this way, you don't see what's happening that way.
Yep.
That is today's
Exactly.
term of magic. That's today's contemporary magic. What we usually considered to be magic long ago was considered sorcery, and particularly in a Abrahamically ruled world where the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, are predominant across the globe.
Uh-huh.
Anything that did not fall under the umbrella was considered pagan. Well, actually, anything that was not Christian was considered pagan. So Judaism was
Yeah.
considered pagan, and Islam was considered pagan once upon a time,
Yeah.
even though all three religions are all praying to the same God. Um,
Yeah.
but this quote unquote sorcery and mysticism, some people have different terms for it. Some people
Mm-hmm.
call it metaphysics. Some people call it alchemy. The ability to make atoms change their properties. When you have six protons, six electrons, six neutrons, that's carbon. And you could change carbon to gold, or you could change gold to silver, and you could change silver to copper, and you could change copper to.
Yeah, excuse me for 1 second. I gotta go step to the bathroom. I'll be
All
Mhm.
right
right.
This is something that
Beer's running through him.
He's gonna turn beer to urine.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's a fish keeper. He's doing a water change. Um, uh, but there were these umbrella terms that like magic is today, or what sorcery was back in the day, was kind of like an ignorant way of explaining what they couldn't explain.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I don't have a problem calling it magic.
It's
Um,
magic till it's science, right?
I
Yeah.
can't.
Magic is like the what is it called? Invisible um illusions.
Right,
That's
because think,
magic
think about
nowadays.
think about light. Light
Yeah.
is a wave, but it behaves like a particle.
Yeah.
Why does light behave as a wave and a particle? We don't
We
know.
we don't know.
But
Yeah.
because we don't know, that's the magic of it. But
Or
when
why when you every
if somebody comes and figures it out and explains it to us, we call that science.
yeah.
Makes
Sorry,
sense.
there's always a delay. I feel like there's always a longer delay for me in Seattle for some reason when I talk to anybody who's like farther than the West Coast.
Yeah, I am way
it's just-
further than the West Coast.
It's just like a split second, but it's enough that I always cut people off, so I apologize.
No, it's okay. We have that here too. You ain't got to be that far away.
I was just gonna say, you know, like when you look at, you know, you're talking all about like quantum theory and quantum mechanics, and like the idea that every atom, its nucleus has a pair, you know, and if you cut it in half, that half you can take it anywhere in the universe and it will respond accordingly to what you do to the other half of it, and they have no idea why. There's no science that makes sense for that. So I mean, even if you don't believe in any god, anything, there are some really magical, unexplainable things still by the old term magic, if you want to call them that, or if you just want to say the unknown. But I mean, we also always, science is great and all, but we always think we have it figured out since we've invented the scientific method.
Right.
And how many times have we had to reanalyze, like, Newtonian physics? Oh, that was great until we found out about quantum physics. And then we're like, oh, that doesn't work. So, I mean, what's the next level of something that we'll figure out, you know?
Right. I don't think that the table is I think it's going to be always ever changing. I don't think that they have found everything.
No. I don't think we can. So there's a famous quote. There's a famous quote by Richard Dawkins, and it's actually not by Richard Dawkins. It's by an old poet, but he said, "Not only do I think that the universe is queerer, which, you know, stranger than we can suppose, or than we think it is stranger than we can think it is."
Yeah.
And that will always be the case.
Right. I mean, that's no doubt.
I always like that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Fred.
I'm inclined to agree, because I believe that in this physical existence, in this physical form that we are currently existing in, that we are limited. You know, I mean, think about this. Our senses lie to us.
Yes.
Our senses literally lie to us. Everything that you see happened, what is it, like 38 milliseconds ago? You know, your brain, it takes time for the light to actually hit your eyes, and then for that message to go from your eyes to your brain. So what you're seeing is never actually live. That's first.
Right.
And then second of all, what you're seeing, you're limited in what you're able to see, because you can't see X-rays, you can't see radio waves, you can only see a part of the electromagnetic, and that's what we call visible light.
But fish can see UV light.
How about that? How about that? We can't see ultraviolet light. And if you ever want to see an animal behave differently, particularly with lizards, take them outside. Take them out of their enclosures and take them outside and see how they behave. Because they might actually attack you, and that's including smaller lizards, because they're looking at you under ultraviolet light, and you might look like just another meal to them. You know, especially
Dragon Lair. I've read it.
The Quantum Universe. No, I haven't read that.
No.
What's it about?
It sounds interesting.
Quantum mechanics.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was really into quantum mechanics about 10 years ago, like right after college when I was taking a lot of acid. Like 12 years ago, probably.
Yeah, that might have something to do with it.
I mean, I have to be honest, because it makes you question your reality.
Yeah,
no doubt. I've done quite a bit of it myself.
Yeah, I don't think there's many of us in the fish fam world that haven't dealt in some kind
might
of
be a few, but
some kind of that. But
well,
anyway.
the chemical that gets released in your brain when you take drugs, I forget if that's melatonin or serotonin or which, and I think serotonin is the sleep chemical, but it might be melatonin.
It's serotonin. It's serotonin and dopamine.
It's okay. That same chemical that gets released is supposed to be stimulating to your pineal gland. And that is, a lot of people believe that your pineal gland is a physical gland that allows you to access your quote unquote third eye. They call it your third eye because it has optical nerves in it. Just the same way it's built, the way that your eye is built. It's just inside your brain. that pineal gland. Um, there are a lot of drugs that directly stimulate the pineal gland. One in particular is called DMT. And a lot of people take when they take DMT drinks like ayahuasca, and ayahuasca is not the only one. If you do your research, you'll find that there's other things that contain DMT, and
Most plants do.
there's other ways to put things together to get DMT intake into your body. And when you experience taking in DMT, you're able to experience other and parallel dimensions that are existing with this dimension that we're in right here that we can't see because of our limitations. And back to your senses lying to you, what you hear, you can only hear certain frequencies. You cannot hear every frequency. Some frequencies are too high for you to hear, some frequencies are too low for you to hear. EL, extreme low frequencies, high frequencies like a dog whistle, you can't hear that. Your senses are limited because you're in this physical body.
Yep.
So, yeah, I do believe that a big part of us not being able to understand everything has to do with this physical limitation of this carnal, because carnal just means meat. This
Yep.
carnal existence that we're dealing with right now. And that doesn't mean that I'm in a hurry to die because I want to figure it out, but I don't think everything can be figured out or let alone explained.
Explained, yeah,
You
no.
know,
No.
or well,
Wait,
even if it could be explained, it wouldn't be able to be understood in this
Mhm.
physical form that we're existing in right now.
well, I think that's what like love comes in too. Like it's one of those things when you have an understanding of someone that's beyond the words that we have in our language, or just family, friends. I mean, whatever you want to call it, just human kindness. But
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
it's that connection that is it transcends anything we've invented to describe interaction or feeling.
Right.
You know.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just so if I mean, I really love what you guys are talking about, by the way. But
Yeah.
Good.
I was gonna say there's a study. So I studied anthropology, archaeology. That's what I'm trained in, and
One second.
they did a study in the Kalahari Bush tribes, in the Kung San people, who are
Mm,
kind of like the ones that you always see on the Discovery Channel running, and like they're very famous. They've been studied a lot, but when they
got
take the people who grew up out in the bush and they take them into a computer lab in Johannesburg, South Africa, and they said, put these colors in order, they could see over a dozen more shades of green and a dozen more shades of red than a human that's been raised with digital world, modern day world. And
What?
they then looked into it and they found out that the same was true with tribal people in the Amazon. We've lost that
Right.
ability to decipher the nuances in colors because we don't die if we pick the wrong berry because it's slightly the wrong color anymore, you
right.
Right.
know? And so we begin to evolve or culturally evolve to lose things that we don't use. And I always wonder with innovation, when you trade one thing for another, but maybe the longer way of doing things, you're losing that tactile or sensory, interaction that was important to us to feel grounded as humans, or for fish to get them to breed, to bring it back to fish. I mean, they might be missing something that we can't perceive, like UV light, like temperature drops, like pheromones in the tank. Like one of the oldest tricks
Yeah.
in fish breeding is you get a pair breeding and you throw them in another tank and their pheromones will get everyone breeding.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep. But on your point about different people from different areas getting different senses, my eyesight for one. I come from a long line of people sailing, oceans and working on water, and I
Mm-hmm.
can see a little bit closer than most and a little further than most. Like I could pick a buoy from 7 or 8 miles away on open water, but then sometimes I'll look out on a very clear day and I can see one 12 miles away when I pull it up on on radar or something
Yeah.
like that. And my dad, he lost his close vision, but his eyesight far away, he could pick colors up and shapes up from 20 miles away. and you would think he's lying that he just knows they're there, but he could actually see them. And it's weird how your sight turns to tends to do that when you're trying to look long distances.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I
Drew,
actually
I
feel
like that.
better than 2020 vision.
It is, and I think 2020 vision is only one way to measure the power of someone's sight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I really like that highlighted quote, because it really goes back to what Alex just said. It says, because we're no longer in tune with nature, and Alex has stated that we're not grounded anymore. Um, Something that has also helped me deal with my PTSD and severe depression is grounding. At some point during the day, I try to allow my bare feet to touch the earth, um,
totally.
to
Oh
I
to
yeah.
was
to
gonna say that. That's funny.
literally connect to the earth's magnetic field. You
Like
know,
barefooted.
Yep.
yes,
Oh yeah.
yes.
Just go stand on
No,
some
no,
grass or moss or something, you know?
no
Oh
rubber
yeah.
soles, no cloth sock, but literally
Okay.
my bare feet
Only time
touching.
I put only time I put shoes on is when I have to go to a store or something.
Hmm.
You guys might laugh
But
at me because I'm outside and it's raining, but
Well,
but I was about to
yeah.
say, but westernized society will tell you that that is savage, and that is
Yeah.
not civilized, and you should wear footwear, and it goes back to what Alex was saying. You trade one thing for another.
Yeah. You
You get that
see.
comfort and the protection on your feet. Well,
Oh
now
yeah.
your feet aren't tough. You go to walk across hot sand, and your toes are burning. You go to
Hmm.
walk across the grass and your feet are itching. Because you're
Yeah.
not
Or
used to
or like
it.
down here we walk on oyster shells.
yeah.
You gotta be raised up on that in order to do that.
Up
We
here
would
Right.
too.
walk on oyster shells and clam shells and stuff like that, and see hard concrete, and I could walk for miles on it and never bother my feet.
Well, now
Hot
that
sand, stuff like that.
now they're learning that the running shoes that they thought were built for arch support are destroying your feet if you wear
Yeah,
them for your whole
hurting
career.
your back and everything else, giving you leg
Yeah.
issues.
They thought, oh, you got this hole in your arch. You must need to support it, right? Well, maybe you just. I mean, yeah,
No,
I'm fatter than a tribal person, but
it's like it's crippling
but
your body when you do that because
Well,
there's muscles and
it
tendons in there
depends
that
on the
have to
tribe,
work
brother.
in a certain way. And if you hold that on that arch, it's like putting it on a McDonald's diet.
yeah,
I look at
yep,
the arches in our feet as like the ankles of horses from the distance between their hoof and their ankle. That's
Exactly.
their rubber band,
Exactly.
so that's our rubber band in our foot to give us momentum.
yeah.
Yep.
It's your spring.
Yeah.
If you look at the Mexican, there's a tribe in Mexico, and I can't remember their name, but they run like everywhere. Like that's just a cultural practice. Like from little kids to the elderly, they run to and from everywhere as just
Yeah.
kind of an exercise. And so they've been studied really extensively by like sports medicine and shoe designers and all sorts of things.
Yeah, I
And
know
they keep coming back that they do best barefoot. So
there's even a tribe in Africa like that too, I believe, in South
yeah,
Africa.
the Kung Song and
Southern.
also the Maasai
Yeah,
groups of
yeah.
tribes.
I've seen documentaries on them where they run miles and miles in the desert heat and they're perfectly fine. But I go try to run 3 miles today and I'm gonna be over after about 30 feet.
Well,
Uh,
you know how humans hunted for. I mean, I'm not even going to entertain anybody who's like, I don't believe in evolution right now. I'm sorry. So if you don't, then you'll have to ignore me for a moment. But
Go for it.
because on my channel, I always get comments about that, and I'm like,
Hey.
sorry.
I think
But
it's all
basically,
intertwined.
There's a lot of truths and there's a lot of misbeliefs and
I think
Sure.
it's all intertwined some way or another.
it's all.
I
it
mean,
all
if you
happens.
want to say that a year equals 500,000 years back then, cool, whatever it takes. But so according to the fossil record, we hunted not with weapons for the first million years, and all the way up into the Coast Salish tribes that are in the Seattle area to this day, they hunted by having the teenagers run down deer. And what you do is you send out a team of 2 or 3 people, and you just get the deer to zig and zag, and that's what it does naturally. And it will exert itself and overheat, and humans sweat for a reason. It's
Yep.
because, unlike almost any other mammal, we can run longer than any other mammal. If you look at endurance running, we're better than a horse if you're trained for it, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
That's why people can do ultra marathons. The world record's like 400 miles without stopping.
Oh
It's
my
like
gosh.
378 miles or something. And that's how we would hunt deer. I mean, the Native Americans did it until contact with Western Europeans, and they would literally run down the deer because it would also get the energy out of the young males who can, you know, we can kind of be assholes sometimes. So, you know, you get to bring home the food and get your energy out, stay in shape, whatever. But they would run down, you know, deer until they got exhausted, and then just literally walk up to it calmly and just poke a little hole in its neck, and that was it, you know. And you can
Uh,
still, I've been on farms
It's
many
even
times with
being done
friends.
today.
Yeah,
It's even
yeah,
being done today because I know somebody personally. He's like 35, 37 years old. He was quick in the marsh, on soft ground, and he was out there hunting, and he dropped his shotgun in the water, and then because the deer spooked him, and he ran after the deer. We was all laughing at him, but he actually caught that deer and got him with a knife
yeah.
in
Mm,
the marsh. A wild
wow.
deer.
I want
And
him
yeah,
on my team.
we called him Miller the Killer after that for a long time. Miller the Killer.
That's not an enemy that you want.
No.
Well, you know, my friend also taught me, who grew up on a farm out here. We have a bunch of islands off the coast of Washington, in the Puget Sound. And there's some of them that you can only get to by boat. And I have a group of friends that all grew up on a kind of a hippie commune, kind of tried to go
Mhm.
back in the 60s. And ever since then, the adults now are in their 80s that started it in the early 60s. And they still have, you know, to this day, there's still people having kids out there. They're my age. Um,
Mhm.
but the people my age that I knew, I went and stayed with them a couple times. And whenever they would kill an animal, you know, they'd, you know, give thanks or whatever. But they actually would, like, whatever it was, a cow, a chicken, a goat, they had a way where they would literally like pet it and hold it, and they'd slit its throat and bleed it out and literally just hold it, and it would just
Yep, go
calmly
away.
die.
Yep.
Yeah,
And it's so different than
No,
if you think about like machine factory farming or something, you
it
know.
is. It
Yeah.
is.
Like
And
Intent,
it
what we
tastes
do.
different.
We
intent,
that's
is
pretty crazy.
extremely important. That's why. So you'll find people that eat some of the most unhealthy things but live longer and healthier lives. But again, I'm not the most religious individual, but every time they go to eat, what do? They bless their food, and they
right.
say that they're thankful for that food that they're receiving. There is
Yeah.
Yeah,
something
really.
significant and something powerful about that, about not just reciting it, not just because mama told you to do it, actually genuinely feeling grateful for being able to consume something,
Well, and
that energy comes back to you as you're taking that in. And my battery's starting to get low, so I just want to touch on two things real quick.
yeah,
There was a highlighted comment a couple moments ago that Stephen said, you know Stephen the biologist has said, maybe we're all just full of shit and maybe we don't know anything. I think I don't think that that's completely true. I think that that's partially true. I think that um, it's good to acknowledge our achievements and our discoveries, but to but at the same time to keep an open mind so that we can continue to achieve and continue to discover. And most scientists, most people with degrees and accreditations, um, do feel similar if they don't agree with that when I share that with them. It's important to keep an open mind because, at some point, even Einstein said, "Oh, I got this idea." So something that he thought prior to that idea was no longer what he thought after he got that idea. And that's one. And the other thing that I want to touch on is evolution. You can't deny the fact that things change over generations, maybe within a generation, and maybe within the individual that's in a generation.
Yeah,
Um,
epigenetics is the new field studying that.
well, now
Mhm.
let's consider this. The oldest bones that we have on record come from an individual named Lucy. And Lucy was in Africa. So now, again, I'm not validating Adam and Eve, but if we're going to say that life started in Africa, let's look at the average African individual with, living on a place on a continent that is flat. You know, whether you're in the desert or whether you're in the savannah, that sun is beating down on your head, and your most sensitive organ in your body, the brain, is the closest to the sun. So, what is the human body going to do? It's going to give you fat, round nostrils so that the simple act of breathing can actually cool off the brain as you're breathing. You know, the hair becomes curly so that just like that radiator or that heat sink on your processor in your computer, the heat can dissipate through the hair. And if those Africans that are on this plane find themselves in a place called Europe and it starts snowing, they might think it's cute because it snows in Africa. But if it keeps snowing for years and years and years, and after generations, they're like, well, shit, we need to find some place to hide and shelter ourselves. And you put those black Africans. Also, their skin color was black because melanin will take the rays of sunlight and convert it into vitamin K. So now you take those black Africans with round noses and curly hair, and you put them in a cave for a couple of 100 years. Well, they're cut off from the sunlight. There's no need for them to produce melanin. So what happens? Their skin starts getting lighter, and it's cold. So that curly hair follicle, which is round, becomes flat, so that hair starts to lay down so it covers the nape so that it'll protect the head,
Yeah.
and protect the brain. And then also those nostrils are going to end up closing up. And what I'm talking about is actual human revolution. So after, a
Hmm.
couple hundred or 1,000 years, those black Africans that went into those caves come out as white Europeans that look completely different. In my humble,
Wow.
opinion, and to me, that's just further proof that we're all brothers and sisters. And
Right.
Right.
you know, it might
Yep.
not be 5 generations, it might not be 10 generations, but if you walk up to a complete stranger on the street, it's not a question of are you related, it's a question of how are you related.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why when you
But see,
see,
that's one reason why I don't know if anybody else knows, but I call everybody my brother because
so
that's
do I.
how
That's
I
what
feel.
that's
We're
Yeah.
all we're
that
all people of
if, if
we're
if
all
you see
people of
me
Earth. You know.
comments, I'm like, hey brother, how you doing?
Yep.
And somebody asked me, why would you say that to Father Fish? Because I don't care how old he is. As far as I'm concerned, that's my brother. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep. That's
Sure.
right. But
How did
we're
you
gonna go ahead
learn
and
all?
switch over to my stream. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump off of
Yeah.
here. I'll get it going, and y'all can follow in a couple
Are we
minutes.
hopping
Yeah.
over to Chubbs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we do. We do
Yeah.
like an hour
Yeah.
on
We
mine and
do
then
an
we jump
hour,
over to his.
hour on here,
Yeah.
hour on there. So
So he's going to
And
go
that's
and get everything set up and then we'll kind of shut this one down and then head over
yeah.
there.
All right,
sounds good.
everybody in chat. I'll see y'all in a second.
All right,
All right.
Chubbs.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Fred.
You asked an interesting question. How did I learn all this? Uh,
Yeah.
Honestly, at this point in my life, I'm 42 years old.
Uh
I
huh.
could not give you an exact answer, but I can tell you I can tell you an umbrella answer, and that is that I read. This this
Okay.
is this is my living room table.
Uh huh.
And for someone who does not necessarily follow or believe any particular religion, I have the Holy Quran, the Holy Bible, the Tanakh, the I Ching, the Book of Mormon. Like I love to read. I love to take in information.
Right.
Same
Yeah,
here.
and
We're
I
like a sponges. We just like to anything that we can soak up and
You get a
learn.
dopamine hit for it.
Yeah.
it gives me kind of a buzz,
Yeah.
kind of a high
Right.
to actually take in information.
Knowledge. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I I stay away from Wikipedia, not because
I've
not not
heard
not
so much bad
not.
stuff about Wikipedia lately.
Well, you know what? It's funny because the reason I stay away from Wikipedia is not because of the misinformation that's on there. I'm a reader.
Uh huh.
I'll go to Wikipedia to find out the real name of the Incredible Hulk, and 3 hours later, somehow, some way,
Yeah.
I'm looking at information about the Hubble telescope, wondering how in the hell did I get here, and
Yes.
Just looking back at the history, I got like 12 different tabs open. None of
Yeah.
them have anything to do with one another, but somehow, some way, when you go to a Wikipedia page, it'll say the Incredible Hulk is a character, and then the word character is a hyperlink. You click on that, and you see there's a whole page dedicated to characters, and like it for someone who reads, for someone who loves to read, I have to stay away from Wikipedia because I'll be on there for hours.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. All right, you guys, well, let's shut this down and let's continue these conversations down on Chubb's channel.
Sounds
All right,
good.
folks.
All right, thank y'all.